Welcome to the Threat Insights Weekly Group Discussion. Let's jump right into our agenda. The first agenda item is mine, so I'm going to go. Let me read it first. So there's been some discussion about the priority on the effort to migrate the pipeline security tab to GraphQL. And the question that I think we're still looking for an answer for, and I think this is something that we could answer ourselves by looking at some of the upcoming work that Andy and Matt have been working on, is what kind of alignment do you expect to see in the future between these two dashboards? Because that'll help us understand the reward or benefit of doing this conversion.
Sure. Honestly, I don't have a clear picture of it right now. I'll say the pipeline is probably the lowest on the list of things that need any sort of active improvement. The MR is definitely high up there, as well as the existing dashboards. It doesn't seem like a bad idea to migrate if we think that it's going to help with, I guess, the consistency of having all 4, soon to be 5 dashboards looking the same. I don't necessarily see adding all the same functionality though to that pipeline tab that we'll have on like the project level. I don't know if that helps or not. Basically, I don't have any immediate term plans for it.
Okay.
Well, dashboards. So project, group, instance, the pipeline is kind of like a dashboard, and then the MR redesign will basically continue with that experience by adding another tab to the MR instead of having all the management in that little collapsy accordion widget today.
So that's not just linking out to the pipeline tab, that's introducing a whole new UI element in addition to the existing pipeline tab? It is going to live
as an, yes, well, it will be on the MR itself. So just like today on the MR, you can see the changes as well as any of the comments and the commits. You'll be able to, there will be a new security tab, I guess, for lack of a better word on that.
Okay, well, if there doesn't seem to be a lot of upcoming work for the pipeline tab, seems like there's none, then I think this is a good idea, but we should wait until maybe more things start to happen with the pipeline tab, because as you've mentioned in previous conversations, you view the tab and the dashboard as sort of like two very different things, and they could go their own way. And it wouldn't make sense to do this and then just have you be like, you know what, we want it to act totally different now.
Yeah.
So I think we should hold off on this until we have a clearer picture of the future of the pipeline tab.
Yeah, honestly, at this part, we don't really have enough evidence to say that people want more or different in the pipeline tab, which is why it's not getting a lot of attention. The MR, we know for sure. This smells like a potentially premature optimization if we did convert it to GraphQL, unless there were like, it was causing some huge pain point having to maintain it separately from the other dashboards because it was already inheriting functionality, but it sounds like maybe that's not the case yet.
It was when we were adding those columns to the pipeline tab and the project security dashboard, but that's almost done with, so it doesn't really make sense anymore.
Gotcha.
So, okay, I'm good with punting on this until we have a clearer picture of the future.
I also would like to avoid us, and I know, Jonathan, this was your suggestion, maybe I misinterpreted it, but stopping to, like ceasing delivery of new features or slowing, or I guess stopping delivery of new features to do this type of work. I'd rather, like Alexander say, wait until we have new requirements or big changes being made to this tab and work that into it. I don't know if other people feel otherwise. That's just based on my personal experience. So.
Yeah. I don't think users want new features. They're pretty good with the ones they have.
They just want us to do lots of stuff behind the scenes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And give us money for it. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Jonathan. What were you saying?
I forgot now. No, I think I'm good with that. I mean, we need to keep delivering new features. We need to keep getting that stuff pushed out. And I think if there's an opportunity to switch something over to GraphQL, if we're digging in that code anyway, we should make an opportunity to make that change.
Jonathan, from a backend perspective, since the pipeline tab is backed with findings and the dashboards are backed with standalone vulnerability, I'm assuming there's not a lot of code reuse that we would gain from the backend perspective?
from switching over to GraphQL?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's still a weird thing, having the findings over in the pipeline and the dashboard is different. Yeah. So no, there's probably not a whole lot of reuse. There should be, I think. I think that's the architect, like what we talked about, needing to kind of re-architect how everything's set up. So no, I don't think
So
there's
that'll
a lot.
be. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, sorry, just half step back. The usage of the pipeline report. Looking at the Sisense dashboards, which I'll paste the link in. So the pipelines tab, is that the, wait, terminology, is that the pipelines tab, not the scanning merge request, the pipelines tab itself?
Yeah, it's the pipeline step. The scanning merge request is the little widget in the MR.
So 500 and change people use the pipeline security tab on GitLab.com last month, which was up. It's actually doubled from the month before, but that's probably because we made it more prominent. As a comparison, usage of any vulnerability management page was 10,000 users on GitLab.com for that same month. So it's not the top used page, that's for sure. It's not, but it's not no usage either. Just to help us make the decision, just some stats.
Thanks, Wayne.
Cool.
All right. So for the sake of time, we do only have half hour. I want to make sure we keep moving. And I want to also encourage people to help take notes in the agenda. I don't want myself or just Wayne doing this. We don't have a scribe anymore. This is everyone's responsibility. That being said, Matt, next agenda item, canonical source of epics.
Yes, so this was an action item question from a couple of weeks ago. I have taken a restructuring pen to what was already in there. I don't know how much folks kind of looked through the Epic organization, but I think this will provide a little bit clearer association between all these different things that we're talking about. We have dashboards, we have MR widgets, we have back-end and front-end improvements to stuff, and trying to make it a little bit more clear where these pieces fit in and moving towards viable. So there's 4 main new sub-epics underneath those. I need to fill in a little bit of details, just a little kind of like descriptions behind them, but hopefully they're sort of self-explanatory. Kind of point number 2, the buckets that I had were getting filled with things that seemed related to, but maybe not necessarily required for viable. So I'm trying to throw things out again, cut scope, defer to either complete maturity or TBD in the future, waiting for their demand. So I cut a lot of things out. And then finally, having that single source of truth. There is a roadmap tab, if you look at the Epic link, that shows you some colored bars with dates that are aligned with the things. It's not great. It's got scrolls inside of scrolls, and I don't know why it's so tall. I can't fix that. But it should at least show kind of the alignment of timing, and that it still has all the issues and the sub-epics nested underneath that. If you like, you can kind of fold them out from there.
For what it's worth, it looks a lot better, a lot easier to understand already. Matt, thanks for doing that.
Thanks. I'll give you your $5 later offline.
Yeah.
This is better than yesterday, even, Matt. Go ahead, Alexander.
Well, I fixed the stupid nesting thing. So I figured out if this ever becomes a problem, you can only have 5 layers of nested epics inside of epics. That is a hard limit on GitLab stuff. I think I encountered a bug where if you are going down and trying to insert stuff at the bottom of that chain, the whole thing explodes. It wouldn't let me do it. So I had to actually move some of the epics out onto their own, put the stuff in, and then move them back, and I got it to work.
Ugh.
So anyway, I hope people find this helpful. Happy to answer any questions around, kind of like what's in there or not. But
Thanks for doing this, Matt. I haven't had a chance to review, but I definitely will. Just a quick reminder to team on, we're trying to get to viable maturity, and I put the link in there on the maturity scale and what that means. Significant use at GitLab and also a UX score of a certain level, which I wasn't actually aware that. Actually, I think I was aware that was added, but I haven't figured out what that actually means. But that's what viable means, and all the dog fooding efforts we've been doing actually help us get there. So it's good stuff.
Actually,
Anybody else
Wayne,
have any?
I can tell you what that means, the UX scorecarding. They're basically going to do an NPS. If you're not sure what that is, it's Net Promoter Score. They basically ask you, do you like something or do you really not like something? And we do that internally for Viable. So they basically, you ask sort of one representative question. I'm going to fight for two because we have two very distinct personas. We've got sort of the engineering side for the MR and the pipeline. It's much more AppSec on the security dashboards, but you pretty much say, can you do blank, like your job or whatever? And based on the responses to that question, you get a score. And if the score is over a certain threshold that we've decided, we would say that that is viable for that persona to accomplish their job using our tool. So that's basically what we're kind of targeting towards.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Anybody else have thoughts or feedback for Matt at this time on this?
Yeah, Matt, this looks really great. I have been looking at this page just because I'm like curious of what's coming up in the future and what I have to mentally prepare myself for. And this looks really great. One question: can I just move these around to like fit the view I want? Tiago's been telling me I can do that behind the scenes.
Yeah, he gave us the okay on that one.
That sounds like a thing he would do. No, please don't move the things, especially not the epics. Like the issues and the epics inside of it are definitely, those are going to get moved around. That is a good point, though. There is only one view of it, and everybody has edit rights to it. So if things get moved and changed, then it's going to go sideways.
You're going to start sounding like that dog that was just crying in the background.
Probably mine.
Oh, too funny.
But looks great otherwise. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you for
it
doing
is
that,
worth
Matt.
saying, I am still trying to structure this so that the end of the fiscal year, January, is where we can hit that maturity date. I don't want that to be a stressor for anyone. I think there's a lot of stuff that's potentially going to, make it look like we need to push that out. The more important thing is that we actually do hit a viable level of the product. That's why we do this new UX scorecarding, because we don't want to just say, hey, we delivered a bunch of features, we think that it's viable, move on. And at the same time, looking for stuff to defer out, like the GraphQL work. I think that's a perfect example. If it's something that we don't think we need to do now, since there's not a clear push on having to improve that pipeline security view, these are great candidates to kick further beyond that January date.
Wayne, I think the next agenda item is yours.
Yeah, I know we have the P1S1 issue with the dashboards not loading for one customer. Let's not say the customer name so we can post this on Unfiltered. Wanted a quick update, and I asked Tiago half an hour ago, and he said, wait a second, Wayne, I just got up. I have no idea. So, which is totally fine, of course. So thanks for
the revert has been merged, by the way.
Oh, you did? Okay, awesome. It has been merged. I was going to ask that. So that's great. The revert, we think, will fix the initial problem, and then we can go work on the causes. So since the revert, so the next step I think would be to confirm with the customer that it resolves their issue. So I think it's Samir. So can someone ping Samir and ask him to ask the customer if that resolves their issue? Tiago, you got it? Okay, awesome. Yeah, we got more to do after that to improve things further. But yeah, that was the first step, which is great. Thanks for the update.
All right, we've got a couple of demos. So if everyone has had a chance to look at those, if anyone has any questions, Savash is not here, but we can try and answer them as a group. All right. Alexander has a demo as well. Lovely, lovely. So this is our first step towards rejiggering how our navigation, the report and the vulnerability list and the reports are. Cool.
That's great. I wanted to add on the addition that Savash did is adding unknown is awesome because a large percentage, at least currently, of vulns get the unknown severity. And that's something that actually the scanning teams that are creating them with unknown severity are looking into. I created an issue and did a little analysis on that. I put the link in the issue, but that's great that we got that added. Gives people the context.
Just a reminder when the question comes up again, because it always inevitably comes up, those counters don't reflect what's filtered down below. So that's part of our redesign that's upcoming for 13.4, 13.5, but right now those are static. And I think they show detected, I believe, by default. Okay. So that's all our demos. We've got about 10 minutes to get through at least some planning breakdown. I think this top one, Matt, of these items that are sitting here, I'm assuming that the restructure for the project dashboard is, since that's something you'd like to jump into around 13.4 soon, is that higher priority than the failed jobs in the project security dashboard? Do you have a preference between those two to talk about today? So probably just hit one.
Yeah, we can do that one. I think that the project security dashboard one should be a lot more straightforward now. It's got designs and I think a lot cleaner POV than it had the other 3 times we brought it up.
Out of curiosity, where does this fall in the priority list along with the redesign work that we're doing? Are we hoping to wrap up all the redesigns and then move to this, or is your hope to do some of this work in parallel? Because I think that whether it's clear or not, doesn't necessarily dictate the priority.
Gotcha. I would actually kind of consider this part of the redesign work since it's going to go at the head of the project security dashboard. So it'll be one of the things on the list. I'll probably put it down further out than some of the other design items.
So I think looking at this first one on the list, 3A, restructure project security dashboard, because that's sort of the step into the changes that we'll be making to the project dashboard as part of this big effort around improving visibility and navigation. And I don't think we've done this, we've gone through this one before, and it's inherently a bit different than the instance and group level dashboards because the project level dashboard does not have the additional reports, the project severity over time, and that report card grade reportlet widget. I can call everything a widget now that sits there next to it. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at this already. And I think the big question, let's first ask the planning breakdown questions of this. I guess I'm just kind of looking, Alexander and Jonathan, you guys have both had a chance to look at this.
Yeah, this looks pretty much the same as what we want the group and instance to look at with less work, except there's less work here because we don't have to move widgets off this page and create, we do still have to create a second page, but pish posh, it's fine. So it'll probably just be done at all the dashboards. Once the instance and group dashboard get their widgets moved to a separate page, all of their lists should be updated pretty much at the same time.
So this issue is primarily focused on the improvements to the vulnerability list, and it keeps it more in line with what we're already doing for the other 2 dashboards, is what you're saying. Is there any back-end work that we've identified at all yet?
I mean, the only thing that I would say on this one is, like we were talking about before, if we're hitting a REST API endpoint with some of this restructuring, yeah, okay. And if you come across something, we'll create a new endpoint for it. But everything, I expect everything to be there already.
Yeah, I was going to propose that when these things switch to refinement, if you're doing it, Alexander, just tag us so we can create an issue and for the backend work, if there's any.
There is some backend work for the instance group and project dashboards. There's this new activity column, which gets returned from the vulnerabilities query, but there's currently no support for filtering by activity in any of the lists. So that is the back end work that we've identified thus far.
So that activity column represents the solutions and the related issues. It's all of the events that have taken place on that record.
Correct. And
Created an issue for that, right?
There's
I think I have.
Oh, have I?
No, I think I have.
I think you have too. I agree with that.
All right. Let's check.
Yeah.
I'll check. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. Yeah.
So
and then
Alexander, you're thinking that
activities-
API would be created as part of the previous work. So as part of the scope that we've already defined for the group and instance level. I wanted to make sure I understood that, sorry.
I think the filter query is slightly different for each of the dashboards. So they just need to be slightly modified. 3 different places. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm getting into refinement style questions.
Yeah, I hear.
So we should probably, I know you should stop me. We should go back to what our questions that we're trying to answer are. Are the requirements clear enough to understand the intent of the request? I'm looking, Alexander's nodding, Jonathan nods. Yeah, okay. Do we know the dependencies of the work to be accomplished? Sounds like this is all internal to our group, thread insights, mostly focused on front end. There could potentially be this backend activity. API requirements.
Jonathan told me he's just going to do it all. So we're just going to wait for him to tell us when it's done.
Okay. Let us know how that goes, Jonathan.
Sure thing. So I'm doing the front end. Is that what you said?
You told me all of it. So
Static HTML pages.
WordPress. The research solution validation is complete. I'm looking at Matt. Nod. Yes, Lindsay, it's totally complete. Yeah. And do we believe that this work, if we just looked at it alone, would be small enough to fit into one iteration? That's the hard part, right? Because some of this vulnerability list stuff, I mean, do we need to look at it a little bit more? I mean, I guess this is where we get to the project breakdown. And as part of our refinement, we're going to create these implementation tasks. So maybe this question is a little weird now in the way we do this.
Is this thing going to sit behind a feature flag? Okay.
Okay, so do we feel like we're comfortable to say that this is ready to move to refinement from a planning breakdown stage, and we could start to create those subtasks? Okay. Alexander, I don't want to put this totally on you. I know you're going to be out next week, and Daniel is also out, so maybe you and I can work together on this tomorrow sometime. Okay. He's like, I guess, whatever, Lindsay. All right, cool. So I think that we can move on. I'm going to take a little note that says that we believe that we've passed planning breakdown for this issue, and then we only have 4 minutes. I don't think we can get into the next one. I think we should save it for the next meeting.
Oh, it's this one.
Oh, you sounded like you missed it.
I did have a question on that one, but we can wait until the next one because it's probably going to take longer than 4 minutes we have left.
I encourage you to put it in the issue, and we can try and get an answer to. Oh, good. Okay. Nice job.
So.
All right, everybody. I think that's it. Does anyone else have anything that they want to bring up? I'll move the rest of these to next week. Bye, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Bye, friends.